You're a wizard, Harry. True dominance versus low vibe, fake dominance. What does it mean to be dominant with your woman? I watched the movie Lion King recently, the Disney cartoon. Been getting a lot of attraction to these king archetypes, these king motifs in film lately. And in this Disney cartoon, which portrays the hero's journey, actually portrays the Christification journey of every man, we have Mufasa, the father of Simba, the king of Pride Rock, of all that you can see, all the way to the distant land. Everything the sun touches is the kingdom of Mufasa. Now, Mufasa had a son, an heir, and he also had a brother, Scar, the evil brother Scar. And Scar is not dominant. He is weaker than Mufasa. He's physically smaller, but more than that, he is physically empty because he's a releaser. He's a black magician. And being a black magician, Scar has to move in the shadows. He has to manipulate in order to attain dominance. Because he hasn't done the work of retaining his sexual essence, of training his body and mind to be a receiver of divine energy, because he tried to shortcut his way to power, he has no intrinsic power, only that which he can manipulate and steal from others. And so we see these two archetypes, Mufasa and Scar. Now, Mufasa cares for his kingdom. He cares for the well-being of his entire kingdom, not just the other lions. But he knows that he's part of a circle of life, that everything is interconnected, that the entire ecosystem depends on everything within it being in balance, in harmony. There is an innate balance to his kingdom that must be upheld, that must be maintained. And so as long as Mufasa is king, because he actually cares about his subjects, he doesn't see himself as more important than his subjects. His kingdom thrives. He lives in harmony. Now, what do we see when Mufasa is killed as a result of his brother Scar's schemes? His brother Scar manipulates Mufasa into rescuing Simba from a stampede in a very narrow gorge where there's no escape. So Scar sets up this whole situation so Mufasa has to enter this perilous gorge where there's all these, I think there might be wildebeests galloping through the gorge. And Mufasa just rescues Simba, his son, in time, throws him up over the cliff edge into safety. And then at the last minute, Scar, who was a taker, who was a user, who was an empty ghost, trying to cling onto power for his own selfish gain, Scar plunges his claws into Mufasa and throws him off the cliff into the stampeding bison, where he is crushed and killed. What we see after this is Simba running away in guilt because Scar, further planting his seeds of fear and doubt, pure manipulation into the young Simba, convinces Simba that it's his fault that his father is dead. This is where we see the hero's journey take its dark turn, the inward turn, where guilt and shame possess the soul of Simba. This is represented in the life of Christ by him going into the wilderness to be tested before he's revealed as the Christ. And so Simba does his journey into the wilderness. This is where many of us find ourselves today, in the wilderness, trying to find our identity as men who have emptied ourselves of our sexual essence, not just for months, but for years and years on end. Turning to the corn, turning ourselves into these lustful, ravenous monsters, trying to suck the life out of women however we can, because we've been convinced that that's the path we should walk, that the path of a real man is in consuming others' life force, like Scar. Can you see what we've been sold? How we've been programmed? We've been literally programmed to be proud of ourselves for having a high body count. Well done, bro. You have carved deep psychological scars into many women. Well done. You have added to the collective trauma by using these women and giving them yet more confirmation that they are worthless, not worthy of one man who can love and provide and care for them. Give yourself a pat on the back. Well done, says the black magician, says Scar. Keep on sucking life out of others. Keep on using others. That's the way to become a real man. Be like Andrew Tate, a sex trafficker. Well done. Smuggling young women around the world to be fucked heartlessly by monsters who only want to suck out other people's life force. Well done. That is the path of a real man. Meanwhile, Pride Rock, in the absence of Mufasa, gets overtaken by hyenas. Now, hyenas are much further down on the food chain than lions, so they have to submit to the stronger predator, the lion. In this case, Scar. Scar brings in these hyenas, these low vibration creatures, to be his henchmen, to control the other lions. These are the Mr. Smiths. These are the Matrix agents, the ones who have sold their soul to the devil. And in come the hyenas, and they start to multiply. And pretty soon the balance of Pride Rock is completely thrown out. There's not enough food. The hyenas are consuming everything. They're not allowing the natural reproduction cycles to happen. They're not allowing the animals to live in relative harmony and to reproduce and have offspring. They're eating everything. They're consuming everything. This is the path of the black magician. Consume everything at all costs. Leave nothing for anyone else. There is no balance. There's only me, my kingdom, my ego, my pride. And they think that's dominance. That's suicide. That's insanity. And so finally, Simba, after his period of testing, after his period of exile, is synchronistically met by Nala, his beautiful childhood friend, a young lioness. And Nala awakens something in Simba that he thought was lost. She awakens the spark of possibility that maybe he could be a king. Maybe he could stand up and take care of his father's kingdom. Maybe he could be a leader. This is where the archetype of the woman, the divine woman, comes into play. We've all met one. We've all met a woman who believed in us. A woman who deep down we knew would be good for us. But we didn't treasure her because we were too distracted by lust. This is tragic. But Simba somehow sees the light. He realizes that this thing Nala has awoken in him is real. And so he returns to Pride Rock, only to find that the kingdom is in disarray. It's gone to shit under the leadership of Scar and the hyena scum. And so, being convinced once again that he is still the traitor, he is still the one who failed, he is still the one responsible for his father's death, Scar has a last-ditch attempt to manipulate Simba into believing that he is just, at the end of the day, nothing more than a black magician, nothing more than a traitor who abandoned his kingdom, who killed his own father. Simba almost falls for this ruse and descends back down into despair, into the kingdom of darkness. But then he's reminded by his friends, Timon and Pumbaa. He's reminded by his mother, by Nala. He's reminded by the spirit, the life force which has been growing in Simba, because he's been practicing retention. In the wilderness, he has not been spilling his essence. And so the spark of truth comes to life like a fiery phoenix rising up within him. And finally, he stands up and becomes the king. Overthrows Scar. Takes back Pride Rock once again. So you see, brothers, true dominance is known instantly. True dominance comes from a heart of service. When you care more about serving your family, your woman, your community, more about that than you care about taking from them, they can feel it. They know it. That's why you can make hard decisions. You can tell them to do things. You can be a leader. You can give your wife direction and say, this is what we're doing. And she will obey you. Yes, obey you, this filthy word in our modern society. She will obey you with love, with gratitude, because she will know that it's coming from a place of love, from a place of service. That can't be faked. You can't manipulate that. Either she knows that you truly care about her, or she knows that you're manipulating her. There's no middle ground. And the only reason that she will listen to you if you're manipulating her is because you're playing into her trauma. You're using her trauma against her. And that's not dominance, bro. That's weakness. So be a fucking man. And start thinking about how you can serve instead of how you can take. And you'll be stepping into true dominance.